computer. All right, welcome ladies to our SIMS discussion. I'm going to share my screen with you, and then you'll let me know if you can see it. Hi Karen.
Hi, sorry.
That's okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you see me? Yeah.
Yes. I'm just loading my PowerPoint slides. Okay. All right, so it is a discussion. So I'll lead the discussion. I'll introduce the case. If you're disturbed and children come into the room or it becomes noisy, won't you mute yourselves so that the noise doesn't transfer? Okay. This is something new that I'm doing, where I open the forum for just discussing cases and to allow people who are on the SIMS course to bring difficult cases to my attention so we can discuss it, and also just to inspire you a little bit. Let's see. Let's go there. Okay, so we're going to present, well, I'm going to present three cases. So the first is a failed FDS-FDP repair. When I say failed, I mean patient is stuck down and not mobilizing. And the second case is using SIMS following Dupuytren's fasciectomy in the case of a very chronically stiff hand. And then the third case is chronic stiffness following a patient who's got a few trigger fingers. She had trigger thumb triggering in her index finger and her middle finger. She's also had a Quervain's release, and her hand is complicated by CMC10A. And then I'll open the floor to you to ask me any questions that you might have, and then we will close the meeting. So this is the first case which Nicole and Taryn kindly brought to my attention, and I decided to present this case today. So this lady had a repair in Miami in April 2019. She did the classic where they take an avocado, put it in the palm of their hand, take a knife, and basically throw the knife into their palm to try and get the pip out. The avo, and of course it went straight through, it went very deep, lacerated the tendons, FDS and FDP of her index finger. She returned to South Africa at, or I should say, 6 weeks post-op. She had tethered tendons, a thick adherent scar tissue in the hand and wrist, a reduced first web space, chronic wrist and hand stiffness. The FDS was slowly showing some improvement, but no movement of FDP. So she was referred back to her surgeon for a tenolysis on the 26th of July. This resulted in a slight improvement of FDS, but not of FDP at all, with rapid scar acceleration. So let's hear it in her own words.
Hi, my name is Liza. I've been asked to do this video. Taryn has asked me to do it just to explain what's been happening with this hand for the last 5 months. 5 months ago, I cut myself with a knife, cutting an avocado pip out, right over there, about a centimeter. But I cut so far down that I cut through 2 tendons and some nerves. So immediately I knew there was something wrong. I felt completely dead in my arm, couldn't move that finger. So I went to the hospital in Miami, and they referred me to Dr. Lambert, who did a surgery 3 days after the accident happened. Afterwards he let me know that all went well, and he then referred me to an occupational therapist in America too, which I saw for 5 weeks, and then decided to come to South Africa just to be closer to home while I'm recovering. Started seeing Taryn in Plett, Taryn and Nicole in Plett 6 weeks after the surgery. And although there was some improvement, there wasn't much. The finger this index finger was still like stuck a few weeks after. So we couldn't really make a fist, and my wrist was also pretty stuck as well from where it cut into it to check my carpal tunnel.
So for some reason that video didn't actually play. Sorry about that, but at least you got to hear her story. Hang on, let's see. Yeah, let me just try again. No, it goes blank. I'm not sure why. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is the splint that she was initially provided with in Miami. To flex her finger here, you can see the tethered scarring and the thick scar tissue over the MCP joint. So that's the lateral view of the flexion that she has. And you can see how the scar is actually pulling the web space and pulling the web space shorter. And this injury just shows the fixed flexion deformity that's developing of the PIP joint. So I'm just going to open the floor to Taryn and Nick. Would you like to say anything? Because this is your patient. Oh, you're muted. Hang on. Taryn, can you hear me? You've muted. Can you hear me? Taryn, can you speak?
I'm talking. Okay, can you hear me now? I was muted, but I've unmuted.
Okay, excellent. Thanks. Okay, carry on. Oh. Okay, so Taryn, could you just start again? No, it's muted.
Yeah.
We can't hear you.
Is the volume up on your computer?
Oh. I don't know why we can't hear you. Oh, that's strange. Okay, I'm going to carry on. Sorry, Taryn, we can't hear you at all. Okay, I'm just going to carry on. Can you talk now? No.
I can hear you.
Oh, we can hear you now. Do you want to talk? Okay, I'm going to leave it there. All right, girls, sorry, let's move on. Otherwise, we're not going to get through it. Okay, so I'm just going to make this smaller so that I can read it. So I spoke to Dr. Alistair Phillips about this case, and this is what he had to say in response to my question to him about whether or not, you know, a patient like this would benefit from WALANT obviously during their primary repair and then during a subsequent tenolysis. So he said, there's no doubt that WALANT may have helped, but there's also two sides. You need a cooperative patient who's able to engage and take that responsibility on. It does work more often than not, but there's no helping patients. Some just simply do not engage and do their therapy. That is not our responsibility to correct, I believe. WALANT is challenging the dogmatic way we have always done stuff, but poor results will still happen. It's not a panacea, but in the right hands, I would argue that the chances are better than the result, and the result will be better. There is scant and low-level evidence to prove it, but it's coming. There's a nation BSSA-sponsored randomized controlled trial starting in the UK with Flexor tendons, which will be interesting. I'm starting some qualitative research because I believe that it is not more important for the patient, and we'll see where we go from here. So then I went to Dr. Patel and asked him for his opinion. And he said, I believe that with a case like this and all flexor tendon surgery, WALANT would have been and still will be the best opportunity to get a better result than what we have here. With where we are now with this patient, further surgery is not warranted yet for at least another 4 months, as you will only create more scar tissue. Get full passive range of motion, allow sensation to recover, and then assess again. So I know that she is booked for a second tenolysis on the 3rd of October. And I would strongly agree with Chetan and recommend that she does not have another tenolysis so soon. I would work on her with the therapy, and I'm going to give you some ideas. And it simply is because he's absolutely right. Scar tissue the way it is, you're just going to create more scar tissue. Okay. So these were my thoughts. I think that the initial protocol was problematic. The wrist was included and flexed within the splint. The MCP joints were positioned in almost 90 degrees of flexion, and the scar tissue was not addressed. At 6 weeks, there is very little chance of traditional rehab working, and I would use SIMS to assist with scar tissue reduction, to improve the fixed flexion deformity that is developed in the index finger, and to try and obtain some FDS function. FDP will most likely always be problematic. I would encourage the patient to delay surgery until the scar tissue has settled and then have a tenolysis using WALANT. So I'd just like to, at this stage, open it up to the floor. Karen, do you have any similar cases that you've treated? Do you ever find that patients that are stuck down end up regaining motion with traditional therapy, or SIMS for that matter? I mean, what is your success rate with problematic tendons?
Yeah, problematic tendons. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've never used SIMS as yet, so I can't say, you know, from that point of view. But yeah, we definitely do get stuck down, and with the scar tissue. And I find patients are often very, very sensitive when you're doing scar massage, especially within the palm area and stuff. So they really don't like you doing it, and it's very painful and very sensitive. So although it's necessary, people don't like it. And I've got a young girl at the moment who is she just pulls away if you're doing any sort of scar massage. So we're treating her with the sicker care as much as we can, as well as, now I can't think of the name, the putty, I can't think, within her pressure glove. Sorry?
Ottoform.
Yes, Ottoform as well, because she also finds when she sweats, then the sicker care slides underneath the pressure glove. So that's why we've moved on to the Ottoform to try and give some more pressure onto that scar.
Okay, excellent. Mary Jane, what about your thoughts?
I actually have a lady who I saw today who had a very poor result post FTP repair of her little finger, and she has no FDS on that side. And so this is before I did the SIMS course. What I did with her, I suppose, is a SIMS rationale. I had blocked her MPs to encourage the FTP to glide, because she was quite adhered down in the palm. And instead of using the silicone, we taped the scar, and we got a really good result with that. From 20 degrees flexion at the PIP, 0 at the DIP, we got to about 56 at the PIP and 20 at the DIP. And then at 4 months post-surgery, she went for a tenolysis on Monday, just because that adhesion was actually quite deep down. And I saw her this morning, she's got full range. So awesome.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's about position.
In terms of the flexor tendons, I'm finding K-taping the scars really, really helpful. And especially when there is adhesion, because it helps with that glide, just gives the superficial pull to allow the tendon to glide underneath.
Okay, fascinating. Girls, is your speaker working yet? Oh no. Shame, I don't know why. How sad. Okay, I'm going to carry on. All right, so I would absolutely cast this patient, and this is what I would initially do. I would cast, you can see that I would actually bring the POP quite high up, all the way to blocking the PIP joints. This is going to give you some amazing pressure over that scar, especially over the index finger in this area here. If you watch the patient moving, as they move, so you're going to get the frictional force of the cast against the scar, and it's going to flatten out that scar very, very nicely. It's also going to prevent or reverse the intrinsic tightness that is happening because of the position that she's in. Here's another patient that's got a pressure garment on as well. Then it's digi sleeves on the fingers for the swelling. This is without a hood. So you can do an intrinsic minus cast with or without a hood, and the hood is very good for proprioceptive feedback if they need that. I also find that I need to put a pressure garment or
focus on the little finger.
Or I need to put Quervain on the thumb often when I'm casting, because for some reason the thumb tends to swell up. So that would be my initial cast. At least you would get whatever FDS that you can, and you would start significantly improving that scar tissue. Then, as a step down the line, when you don't need to include the wrist, you can go for my famous MCP joint immobilization cast. And I got the beautiful question on social media this week: why not use thermoplastic for this? And you just cannot get all the benefits of this cast with thermoplastic. First of all, it's circumferential, so you don't need straps. You are getting the neutral warmth of the POP against that scar tissue. You are stretching out your intrinsics. You're blocking the MPs to facilitate motion to the PIP and DIP joints. You're going to get differential glide. So you're going to get a multitude of benefits from using this cast. And you will also try and maybe get some FDP if you're lucky, because you can see where it's blocking it. What I do is I don't mind if my cast is too high to begin with, because you can always cut it down. So if it's high and you're blocking those PIP joints to get FDP motion, it's absolutely fine. So I'd like to just show you a patient who came to us. He had a full house, including his median nerve. The only tendon that was saved was FCR. Okay, so zone 4, zone 5, going down to zone 6. But have a look at
3 fists. Try and make a fist and open.
This was his
And
movement
make a fist.
when he came to us.
And make a fist and open.
So you can see that he's got almost a similar situation with the index finger. There's no active mode
3
whatsoever.
fists. Try and make a fist and open.
So I just want to show you, we casted him, and I just want to play you his video.
So I had a glass cut through my wrist where the 3 tendons of his fingers were cut, only this one was normal. And then from there I had a tendon surgery performed, and then I went to Johannesburg to see the hand therapist, Robyn. I had, this is my 4th appointment with her. The first appointment was on the 4th of September, where she did the assessment of my hand and found what to do. On the 7th, she put me on the cast. My fingers could not move at all fingers would move. And then she put me on a cast. I had one follow-up appointment from the cast, which was on 11th. And then now, after the cast, this is what the hand can do. 2 weeks in the cast, is what I can do after I could not even do this. I couldn't do this. Now I can do the fist, and then.
So an amazing result. I just want to show you his motion. So from absolutely no movement whatsoever, he did really, really well. I think you saw Jabulani, Karen, didn't you?
So, oh, can you hear me? Yeah, I was just thinking that was him, but then I recognized Sanchez's voice. But I think the thing with him, he had his injury, I think, somewhere up north of Joburg, and he literally had been put in a back slab, which he hadn't taken off for about 6 weeks. Right in the beginning, 4 or 6 weeks. So he was completely held in one position for that whole time before he came to us.
You know, amazing. I was in London at the time.
That's right, yes. And that wound, the hand was so disgusting because he had been in this back slab for 4 weeks.
Yeah. And it's incredible if you think about it. His median nerve was lacerated. He had pretty much a loss here. And look at that function.
Amazing.
Just absolutely incredible. So what I thought I'd do is show you a few slides of videos I took from the conference in Berlin. So the one take-home message actually that I enjoyed was give your patients a mantra. Okay. So the mantra is, I can move it, but I can't use it. I can move it, but I can't use it. And you give them that mantra, they will grasp the concept. So have a listen to this. This is by Dr. Lalonde.
Right. The goal is to move it just a little bit so it doesn't get stuck, but not to move much. It doesn't take much to work this apart because the stitches are only about 1/3 as strong as your hand. You're not going to use it at all. You're just going to move it just enough. Move it so it doesn't get stuck. What's the most important rule when we get you stuck? Most important. So my favorite question during flexor tendon repair while I'm operating on the patient is, so what were you planning to do this week? Because you got to know that's going to change. And if they thought they were taking their kids to Disney World and getting in the pool, maybe not. And if they thought they were going and
so what were you planning to do next week? And then I tell them the new plan. I like that. Okay, so that's one video. And that's just showing the importance of how amazing if they start educating while the patient is wide awake in theatre, by the time they come to you, they know so much more. Okay, it was a fabulous, fabulous video. How many of us have done place and hold with tendons? This will show you why you must never do place and hold.
Bunch. Okay, now I want you to hold it and jerk. Just not a good plan. That's how you break a string. When you want to break a string, you jerk it. There's another one on the left. See, the tendon's not moving with place and hold. But then I say hold it and just jerk. I'll show you another one in the middle. It's buckling, 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 and hold it, jerk. And another one on the right. It stops moving there. It's buckling, it's buckling. I could have divided my pulley a little more there, but jerk. WALANT has taught us that we only need up to half a fist of true active movement to get 5 to 15 millimeters of profundus glide. That's all you need. You don't need a full fist. You just need a half a fist for 5 to 15 millimeters of profundus glide, and that's all you need. You just need to keep it moving so it doesn't.
You just leave that part of 15 millimeters of glide.
So did you see that? We can hear you now, Taryn, which is awesome. Did you see that tendon? It literally butts, okay? To visually see that is absolutely incredible. And
okay.
I have, so this was talking about using relative motion with flexor tendons, which is pretty much what Sims is. But here, listen to this from Gwen van Stream.
Exercise while they're living. They don't stop living to exercise. Thank you, Gwen van Stream, for that. And you can see that in 2 weeks, he gained 20 degrees of motion. And here he is with a good result. He's got short, fat fingers like I do. They get stuck. And relative motion splints really help that problem. So sometimes they get stuck the other way. They get stuck in scar. So here's a guy who's got a long finger flexor tendon repair.
So I like that. They don't stop living to exercise. And the next video will show you some examples. Oh, I didn't record it, but I thought I'd put it in. But there's some examples. So for example, if you just give them a pen to play with, just sitting and fiddling with their pen, as you would if you were just contemplating life, that's great. If you give them a glass to hold and they just roll the glass backwards and forwards, lots of exercises that you can do. Any other comments about the tendons? Oh, hang on. Actually, I wanted to show you what I do with my tendons. I remembered what that YouTube link was for. Okay. Just want to show this to you quickly. So I give the patient some balls in the patty. So I add resistance when the tendons are starting to get more stuck. And I use my patty sizer. The patty is very soft, but the handles are a little bit more resisted. I use my Biometrics E-Link. And
are we the only ones? Sorry, Robyn. Are we the only ones that can't see the YouTube link?
Oh, sorry.
All we can see is the
still screen.
Oh, okay. Let me.
Grammarly does more than catch errors.
That's because. Oh, sorry. It was a different screen to share. Okay, I will have to show you at the end. Sorry, I didn't realize. Thanks. Okay. Do you want to make any comments about your rehab that you've done, Taryn?
No, I think everything that we did with Liza was pretty similar to what's already been mentioned. It was all just conventional scar massage and working a lot on range of motion and yeah, just trying to get as much glide. Yeah.
Well,
definitely obviously haven't used the Sims technique, which is why we messaged you about it.
Absolutely. Okay, awesome. Well, there we go. I think it's definitely something to try, I think, before another tenolysis. And then if she does have a tenolysis, 100% to find a surgeon who will use the WALANT technique to get the best result. Okay, so
how do you talk to a surgeon about doing that? I don't even necessarily know whether he does it. Like I said, we're quite new with these guys, and so I'm not familiar with what techniques they use. Like, how do you not step on toes by suggesting a particular surgery technique?
You know, it's a good question, and I think it comes with your relationship that you develop with your surgeon. You should be able to have open discussions. You should be able to bring ideas to the table without feeling like you're stepping on toes. And you could start by saying, are you familiar with the WALANT technique? Were you at the IFSSH Congress in February when Dr D Lalonde was here teaching the surgeons? And then he might say, no, I have heard of it, but I've never used it, or I don't believe in it, or whatever the response might be. And then you can open up by saying, well, I've been actually following their website, because you can gain full access to the website. You can look at lots of videos. You could say that you've even had conversations with me, who has a relationship with Alistair Phillips, and they are really trying to get more surgeons to use the technique, and they have personally offered their email address and to personally have those discussions and mentor surgeons who are wanting to try it. And so you can open it like that, and then you can say, I think it's a really good idea, because while the patient's on the table, you are watching them actively mobilize their fingers before you close up the wound. So they're not getting to therapy and we're guessing that their tendon's going to glide. It really is a guessing game if they don't use WALANT. And there's nothing to lose from trying. There's no tourniquet. You can, if you look through one of my posts, you'll see my whole list of advantages to WALANT. There's local anesthetic. There's no GA. There's no nerve block. You're using epinephrine, so there's no blood. And that patient is moving before they close up. And when the patient sees that, they are very excited to get going. You get them to use their cell phone in theatre, and they must take a video of their hand moving in theatre. So it's about, just being confident, not being shy about it, not feeling that you're telling anyone what to do. We absolutely should be having open conversations. And that's where I'm going to be taking these discussions. I'm going to be bringing surgeons onto the platform. I've tried hard to get Chetan and Alistair, but again, it's a Friday, everybody's busy. But we are going to be opening it up to therapy, surgery conversations so that we can start changing our practice and getting better results. So just be brave, go for it. So the next patient, he's a fabulous guy. Actually, he was referred to me by my father-in-law. He's in his 4-ball on the golf course. He went to a surgeon on the other side of town. He said she insisted that he saw her therapist. And he said, Robyn, when she never made my follow-up appointment, I took the gap, and now here I am. So I thought that was quite funny. But what I want to do is play his video. This is his initial video. It's very entertaining.
All right, nearly 1 week later, I've had 6 or so days.
No, that's the wrong video. Hang on. Let's just see if it's this video.
All right, nearly 1 week later.
No. I have to find his video for you. Hang on 1 second. I thought that I put that in.
But the image is frozen on.
Oh, here it is. 1 sec. Just wait for that to load. So you can see, okay, hang on, let's get that up and running. All right, hopefully that's not the same video.
All right, nearly 1 week later.
Oh no, sorry about that. Okay, we'll play it just now. But you can see here, have a look at his pattern of motion. What are you seeing, girls? Can you shout out the pattern of motion to me?
An intrinsic pattern.
Intrinsic
dominant.
Intrinsic plus, so dominant, intrinsic plus. So he's mobilizing with the MCP joints. Is he activating those extrinsic flexors at all?
Very minimally.
Yeah, very minimal. Okay, so do you think that traditional therapy will help with this patient?
Going to go on a whim and say no.
No, exactly. And even if you try, it's going to take a very, very, very long time. Okay, so listen to Ian. Now, what happened was I sold him Sims, but I just put Quervain on him until his next appointment. So let's listen to his story.
I've had 6 or so days in a Quervain wrapping, which gave me the protection to move my hand for the first time in 5 weeks, and move my fingers more importantly, and to try and lift things, turn things, twist things, and literally get back in some way to a normal life with a limited hand movement. And that's certainly been very worthwhile in literally the 4 or 5 days that I've been seeing Robyn.
Okay, do you want to show us your hand so we can all see? Okay, so there's your hand. And now if you can move that for us into a fist. And then pop your elbow on the table just so you stabilize your hand. Can you open and close your hand quite quickly? How does it feel when you're moving it?
Absolutely stiff. And there comes to barriers of resistance when you move into a position that from which you can go no further.
Okay. So I've convinced you that we're going to use this casting technique, which will start in a few days.
Eventually, yes.
Eventually. And I'd just like to just say to my colleagues, you know, it's a proper negotiation. As therapists, we are saleswomen. I have had to sell this to you. I've had to do a hard sale on this one to you. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to block the MCP joints because you have intrinsic tightness and shortening of these muscles, because this finger was in your palm for a long time, wasn't it?
Yeah, 3 or 4 years.
4 years. Okay, so we're going to block you, and you're going to now, I'm going to extend the wrist, block the MCP joints, and now make a hook fist. Bend your fingers for me, and then straighten. So that is the pattern of motion that we are going to aim for, and you will be absolutely amazed at what the cast does. But I think it's important for everyone to know your anxiety and fears now, because when you have it, it'll mean more to them when you say how you feel within it and how you find it is on your hand when you're using it.
I think of just having you following me around, holding these fingers like that instead of a cast. Okay, cast will be fine.
Okay, thank you, Ian.
Okay, so yeah, absolutely. I just cannot see that working. So what is your protocol post-op? How do you manage chronic joint stiffness from late stage presentation? What is your success rate with traditional therapy? And have you tried Sims? Anyone want to comment about their experiences?
It's Mary Jane. I'll comment. Yeah, I think before I had any exposure to Sims, you kind of just motor on with traditional therapies in the hope that you're going to achieve something. And sure, you might achieve a little bit, but in the time that I have been using Sims, and now with a little bit more of a refined technique, the results are coming a lot faster. But like you say, it's sometimes a very hard sell to the patients. And so I had one patient in particular who I managed to persuade to do a round of Sims, and I casted him, and we gained a lot of movement, but he just psychologically couldn't go back into it afterwards. And we've managed to get him almost full range, but that week and a half that he was in the initial cast that I put him in was the biggest gain that we made in the time that we've been seeing him.
Amazing. So with a patient like that, I would just make him a bivalve cast. So then you can carry on with the negotiation that they only take it off for convenience. Take it off, and I'd only use the bivalve at that point with very last resort, with a guy who's just not playing the game. And you say take it off when you're eating, take it off when you're showering, but otherwise wear it. Because they need to wear the cast to wean for a long time. So if you take it out too soon, they're going to just get stiff again, and you're going to lose all those gains. And usually what happens is they notice that, and then they'll come back for a cast. but just keep the bivalve under your sleeve. Anyone else?
Sorry, can I just ask why, when you say psychologically he just wouldn't go back into the cast, how, yeah, what were the feeling and what?
I think for this patient in particular, he saw POP as a step backwards, even though he realized the gains that we got and the figures were there. He just, in his head, for this particular patient, no matter how it was explained, he saw going into POP as a big step backwards. So, Robyn, we actually did do bivalve, but it had to be thermoplastic. And he didn't see that as a back step. But obviously the gains, he maintained and improved on what we'd gained in that time in the POP, but he just couldn't. He started, shame, he became quite emotional when I spoke about POP. So then we agreed never to mention it again.
You probably found that he might be a bit claustrophobic.
Possibly, but he also had quite a traumatic injury and a traumatic road. But he's at the end of the day done really well.
Yeah. So claustrophobia is actually a conversation. He just joined us, which is awesome. Welcome. Okay, so if you girls would like to read my case report that I wrote on the use of cast, the use of regained digital flexion following Dupuytren's fasciectomy, you'll see that I compared traditional with SIMS, and I also recorded the time patients in the cast, the number of sessions that they had, and the benefit that they got from SIMS, and SIMS is just far superior in the times. And maybe because the patients have been in a cast for so long, the intrinsics are short, there's a lot of scar tissue, there's a lot of scar tissue edema, and they have forgotten how to move. Just awful, so they've forgotten how to move. So yeah, they do really, really well. This is, I actually made him a ECP joint cast, which you'll see on my, I'm going to post his bend, straighten up. You can see bend, straighten up, how we can work against that. So this cast was the first one I made.
Stretches too there when you stretch it out, it gives you a little bit of assistance in the palm, which is because I heat tightness in that section there.
So it's going to stretch out your intrinsic. So we've got that much stretch on it, and we're going to have the pressure through the palm as well. And we are able, if you bend your fingers, you can see that that joint is bending, which it hasn't been doing. So if you work just into a hook fist, a full fist will become easy.
So again, this was my first cast, a little bit high. I've cut it right down for him now, and you'll see that on Monday.
All right.
So the third case is a lady who was seeing a colleague of mine. She had a Quervain release. She's got trigger finger and her thumb, index, and middle finger, and she's got quite severe osteoarthritis. And she had weeks and weeks and weeks of traditional therapy. And when she came for her first appointment, she was actually so tearful. I mean, look how swollen her hand is. I mean, you wouldn't think you get this from a trigger release. I'll just quickly show you her movement. Also with, it's not so much that she had an abnormal pattern of motion, it's just that the edema really prevented her from using it. So here's her video.
I injured my hand in November through trauma. I already went for operation, trigger finger operation in end of January. I went for another operation in June, another trigger finger, the Quervain's, carpal boss. I still had stiff hands, even though I got cortisone injections. And I'm at this stage desperate, and I'm sure that Robyn will help me. So I can't wait
Excellent. Okay, Suzanne, please will you put your hand up like that? Okay, show us your movement. Just open and close your hand.
So my movement is very stiff when I go for OT, and after exercises, the stiffness it eases over during the session. Half an hour later, my fingers are stiff again, and it's so frustrating. I can't do the just simple tasks. I've given up lifting heavy stuff. I just can't do it. I've worn casts. I've used this. I've taken different types of medicines. I just cannot tell you how many things I've done. I've wrapped my fingers. I've used what is that called?
Quervain.
Not Quervain. It's the patch.
Oh yes,
Transact patches, and wrapping every finger individually, wearing a full cast, and that I found injured the sport or made it very sore. So yeah, it's one of those casts that they use for sports.
Okay. So now this is you feel like it's the last resort
last resort, and I'm now very tearful because I can't function like that. It's almost a year later. So
okay, so you will help me. So we'll follow your journey.
Thank you.
So how frustrating for a patient to have a year of hand therapy and still have a hand like this when she came to see me. She was absolutely devastated. So I put her in a cast, and it's quite funny because sometimes I say to the patients, look, go home, think about it. I'm not going to cast you at the first consultation. You might be shocked. She was not wasting another minute. She handed over her hand and she said, cast it. So this is the cast that I made. There's the Quervain I was telling you about.
Exercise 1 is almost like a wave. Exercise 2 is a hook fist, so bending those fingers in. And then extend your fingers. So open your fingers. Yes, into hook, into extension, into extension.
You could see she couldn't even follow instructions. She has just lost the brain-hand connection completely. So I saw her today. She is a different person.
Okay, I don't find this cast very heavy. I feel very comfortable, and I also comfortable at the front. When I put my knuckles in my hands against it, I can move my fingers. When it tends to be stiff, I can move my fingers easier. And yeah, that's about it. And I can bend my fingers over, whereas before I couldn't.
That's brilliant. And then you can fully straighten. There we go. And then
fully straighten. And I can also, I'm supposed to exercise this thumb. I can exercise this. I've no restriction of movement there. I can move my thumb, no problem.
So you're happy?
I'm happy, yeah.
Brilliant.
I always promise them that smile if they do the cast. And interestingly, it's a heavy cast, yet she doesn't find it heavy. So it's just helping her so much. So I just want to share my vision with you. Some of you know this, some of you don't, but really my vision is to have a global impact, save stiff hands around the world, contribute to the body of literature, grow a Sims community on the platform, learn together through these meetings that we have, and also next time I have, it's open, so submit your cases. And then for more intense mentoring, one-on-one with your patient. And there is a cost associated with that, but you can go about that one of two ways. So you can absorb that yourself as part of your own learning, or you can share that cost with your patient because they have direct access to me. I can engage with your patient, I can encourage them, I can explain things more, I can show them videos, we can really work like that together. And what I would just be most grateful for is if you could make a noise about it. So, like, for example, you've just had this meeting. It would be really nice if you just went onto the group page or the Facebook page and, just gave a few words about if you found this session to be useful, or next time I market it to share. And the more noise we make, the more conversations that we can have about the patients and about SIMS. So now I'm just going to open it up to you, ladies. I know we've had a few people join us. Any comments? Somebody mute that. Any comments?
Well, the one question that I was going to have, I think, got answered by your gentleman with the Dupuytren's release.
Yeah.
Because I think probably my most favorite thing has become your MCP blocking pop, just the old cuff.
Yeah.
Since I've done the course, I've probably put 4 patients in it. Okay. And the question that I was going to have is, can you jump the gun to that? Which is what I have been doing, because all of those patients have had very good wrist control. So I didn't immobilize the wrist as a starting point. And I see you did that with that that Dupuytren's release guy.
Yeah, so it's a very important point. I had to negotiate with him because he was attending so many meetings and he just couldn't fathom being in the cast. And he was not activating his wrist flexors during finger flexion. And for that reason, I felt that he could have the cuff, and the cuff was going to be of benefit. I do feel, though, that for a lot of patients, we should start with the full technique, because even if they've got wrist control, the fact that they don't have to think about the wrist when they're moving their fingers, the less they have to think about, the more effective the technique. So you are able to block the wrist, block the MP joints, and then facilitate that motion. And you're getting that. They cannot take it off. Whereas when you give them a cuff, they can take it off. So you're not going to, you might be feeling like you're doing your patient a favor, but I can assure you that you're often not. You're just delaying the need to be in a cast, because 2 to 3 weeks is often all they need if you apply it soon enough. But watch out for the tricking with the wrist. But yeah, very, very good point. Thank you. What would you say to girls? There's 2. So Karen and Nick are contemplating doing the course. What would you give them? Any kind of words of encouragement about signing up?
I think SIMS is a really wonderful technique. It definitely, I've seen some good results with it. I think you need to have some extra pop around to play on each other before you play on a patient if you haven't used pop before. But yeah, I think it's definitely a worthwhile journey to go on.
How have you found things? Sorry, you've been quiet. I'm going to give you the floor. Can you hear me?
Oh, is it me?
How have you found the course and using it with your patients?
Are you addressing me? As I couldn't quite hear. Are you talking to me, Vida?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. Now, I must admit that I've had very little time to spend on it, but I've also been waiting for the right patient. but certainly it's like, I feel like it's the start of a gigantic fire that if I start, it's going to explode. So yes, I definitely I would recommend it, even though I haven't got that much experience on it yet. But the fact that it is available, the reason I joined the meeting late is I am in Joburg for the weekend, whereas normally live in Cape Town, but I arrived straight from the airport, and the fact that I can access it anyway, to me, is useful, and I appreciate that, because time is of the essence for me, and it makes it possible to join the journey without putting it off a year. Yeah,
amazing. And I just want to say one more thing about finding the right patient, because Natasha, watching this online, he's
yeah.
Her practice doesn't she's got a completely different medical legal based practice, so she's not getting a lot of hands. And I said to her, well, what you've got to do is market the fact that you are learning this. Find those patients that you can practice on, even if it means buddying with me online and we mentoring you, so that you feel okay, or find somebody else that you can buddy with. But definitely start marketing yourself, because it is something that you want to just start practicing and using as soon as possible. So yeah, don't be shy, and most of the hands will come your way, but sometimes you've got to just put it out there and get people to refer them to you.
Yeah. Can I just say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just from a point of view, before, I think I had very little exposure to using casting, and I'm only halfway through the course now. And I just find when I'm treating the patient, like I can identify so many patients that I feel I would use it with already. I haven't started because I don't feel confident to use it yet, but I think just having a little bit of background, I can see already how it would help a number of patients that I've had. So I think once you have a little bit of knowledge about it, you can already start to see the benefit in your practice.
Yeah, it's something, it's a weird thing. It's like you don't know how good it is until you know about it and until you've used it. And then you use it all the time. I always share a story about how when I went to London and taught the girls, they with 35 hand therapists, 3,500 patients through the door a month. And from over the 3 weeks that I was there, we casted 45 hands. Now, I would not get that in years in private practice in Joburg. But what was fascinating was that as the girls were starting to think about it and use it, so the hands seemed to just pop up all over the place. And because we were in one very big room, I was just running from therapist to therapist to therapist. There was plastic Paris everywhere, all over the floors, all over the desks. But the beautiful thing was that they were starting to see it and starting to use it. So exactly, Vida, it's as you say, it becomes a fire that's just going to explode. So oh, hang on one sec. Okay, what were you saying?
Was the patient that was giving her experience that you showed the videos of, when you said you saw her today, how long was she in the course? I didn't get the time span that she was using.
2 weeks.
How many? 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. That's really fast, because I think that was one of my questions, is how it obviously depends on the severity of the stiffness, on how long they'll be using it. But what is your experience? What is the minimum time that you've had people in the cast, and also probably towards the maximum?
Well, because I keep such accurate records, I know exactly. So the minimum time is 2 weeks, and the maximum so far is 18 weeks.
Okay. Well,
18.
Gosh, that's a long time.
But it's amazing. 2
Yeah.
weeks, you've done enough. That if you're unsure whether to use it, I haven't got a lot to lose. It's not like my experience with serial casting, where you know, you from the start, you know this is going to be a 6-week plus situation.
Well, if you think about this patient, she came to me a year down the line, and we gained in 2 weeks what she didn't gain in 12 months.
Wow.
Okay, and then if I think about my 18-week patient, for the first 3 months, I treated him with traditional therapy. It was failing, and because I was new to Sims, you know, I didn't apply it sooner. So that he was part of my study, my case series report, and so then I applied it, and then it took, because we started it at 3 months, it took a long time, but that includes the weaning phase.
Okay. I have got a patient that I want to discuss just as a case study, but I'm really not far enough into the course that you can stop me if you say I should do more theory before I ask these questions. But it's practically, she's got she's had a volar plate release after she's had interposition of a collateral ligament, and masseter volar dorsal. It was very like a arthrolysis really, but the problem is the stiffness has recurred now 6 weeks. Literally, she was, as the weeks went on, she was only loose from the surgery, but she needed that because of the interposition, and she couldn't progress any other way. So she is post-surgical, but with stiffness recurring. My concern is the fact that it's not just flexion, but the fixed flexion deformity. What is your experience on that? If the stiffness is everywhere, it's not. The cases I've observed so far was more limited flexion, which seemed to do so well with the Sims. But with that joint contracture, what is your?
So so the thing with Sims is that you can't achieve everything at once. So you are giving up one thing to achieve another, and you prioritize what it is that you need to achieve. And I use serial casting, the PIP joint 3-point extension cast. So I like to first resolve the PIP joint fixed flexion deformity. Once I resolve that, and that takes about 5 days, then I make them a cuff, and then they start working within the cuff, and then we go for flexion whilst maintaining extension. And also while they're working, they are getting both flexion and extension. So I like to improve extension and then proceed.
No, but I'm going to probably have a one-to-one with you on that, because she's like, serial casting isn't effective anymore. I actually just know that that she's either borderline of needing surgery again because of. But anyway, I find it that I agree. Thanks. She's very keen to do Sims because she's tried everything, but I know she's got a bit of a blockage, and but at the moment her plan is to. I think the problem is she developed CRPS, which obviously we're treating that, and I'm just waiting for her to be ready for Sims, even if it's. But before that, I need to. She wasn't able to do well with her with her serial casting because CRPS would flare up. So it's just difficult, because I think she'll benefit from it, but it's just so much. She needs a lot of other groundwork needs to be done before, but she's got that classical pattern from early on. I could recognize, because she had a fixed flexion deformity for so long before the op. She's developed the wrong movement patterns. So when, in retrospect, I wonder whether we should have done Sims within a week or two, as soon as the wounds healed post-op. Thinking about it now.
Absolutely. The sooner you do it, the better. And don't be shy. The only thing holding you back is stitches. Make sure those stitches are out and then cast.
So what you would do post-op arthrolysis in this case, about 2 weeks post-op, you can, well, when the stitches are out. That's good. I think thanks. That's answered my question.
Pleasure. So, girls, I just want to thank you so much for participating. Please spread the word. For Nicole and Taryn, what I'd like to do, and the other girls are welcome to leave the meeting if you want, but I have you've seen this video. I just want to show you the platform of the course and how it's structured, just so you have a bit of an idea while you're on here. So, yeah, girls, if you want to go, I really don't mind at all. I'm just going to play this quick video.
Okay, so
So I'd like to just show you that the latest security includes a license code. You will go onto the screen when you enter your link, and it will state that on the next screen, please enter your unique license code found in your email to unlock your training. Please note this license is valid for one user only. So the journeys will be locked after you have inserted this code. So we'll go there, that's my code. Insert it here. And then it unlocks. And then you submit your email address, and then you will be able to access your training. Please always remember to click Got It because the website uses cookies, because we are tracking and monitoring in the back end of the software. So over here, you will see that this is your Start My Training link, and then there is the My Training Portal how-to videos and I Have a Query. I'd like to take you first to the Training Portal video. You click that, and let's just listen to this.
Welcome to your Hand Therapy Digital Training Portal. This video will orientate you on how to log into your personalized dashboard experience and be able to show you how you can track your training progress throughout the training program. This smart link is how to access your digital training. From here, you can rewatch these videos by clicking on My Training Portal How-To Videos, and you will see the login video, which covers how to log into a personalized dashboard. Alternatively, how to use your personalized dashboard to get the most out of your digital training experience. By simply clicking home or backwards, you can go back to the arrival screen. On the bottom right is the I Have a Query tab. By clicking on the I Have a Query, it'll email Robyn Midgley directly, the course content creator, with any queries that you may have. Now let's show you how easy it is to log into your dashboard. Simply click on the Start My Training section. All you do is go to the sign-up email that you were sent, and in the body of that email, you'll see your username and password. Simply fill in your username and password over here. Click the Remember Me tab, which will allow you to automatically be logged in future. And should you have any problems and wish to recover your password, simply click on the Recover My Password section down here. When you are ready, click Sign In, and this will take you into your Hand Therapy Personalized Training Portal. As you can see upon arrival, I can see my name, my overall training progress. I can scroll down, and we'll be covering this in detail in the How to Use Your Training Portal video. To reset your password, simply click on your settings icon, go into your profile, and you can update your username and password information here, and simply click Update to change your details. By clicking on the personalized icon, it will take you back to your training portal. Thanks for watching this video, and the next video will cover how to get the most out of your training portal.
Okay, and let's watch this one.
In this video, we're going to cover your hand therapy training dashboard. This dashboard doubles up to not only show you easy navigation on how to access your current training content, but it also tracks your progress throughout the program as you go through each of the 45 modules and 8 training assessments. In order to pass your hand therapy training, you will need to complete all 45 modules to 100%, which will be displayed by 45 green ticks to the relevant lesson. You will also need to submit your 8 practicals, which will be marked by Robyn Midgley, and she'll be in contact with you should any of these modules not meet the criteria. This dashboard will also function as a full community hub. Should you have lessons, case studies, key material that would be worth sharing, please upload it and Robyn will include it on the dashboard for the benefit of the overall community. The course content has been designed in such a way that you can go through all 45 lessons and the 8 practical assessments at your own time. Should you watch all the videos and read all the content, you can expect it to take you 25 hours to complete the course and practicals in totality. The first thing you're going to notice upon arrival as your personal information appears in the top left of the screen, as well as your overall progress. By scrolling down, you can see each of the individual lessons and the category that that lesson applies to. Like lesson 1 falls with an introduction, where understanding the joint stiffness has lesson 4, 5, and 6. As you scroll down, you'll see the 45 lessons that have been covered and put in the various chapters that make up your overall hand consulting training. There are 45 lessons in total, and once you have completed the 45th lesson, you'll be able to start your 8 practical assessments, or as guided to in the training content. This dashboard has 2 functional roles. The first is to provide easy navigation to the lesson and content in question, and the second is to show you your overall progress by displaying a pass or a fail for each lesson that you have gone through. This icon will display a green tick should you pass that lesson, or a red cross should you have to go through the content in more detail. And this could take as long as 15 minutes to update as you're going through your course content. To navigate to the content, simply click on the icon and the relevant content will appear. Each content screen gives you a detailed understanding of what that lesson will entail. For each lesson, you'll be asked to reconfirm your email address. This ensures from an auditability perspective that your information is saved to your overall profile for each individual lesson. As soon as the lesson has been completed, simply click on the home screen in order to go back to your dashboard. In order to allow you to re-access specific information in an easy-to-use manner, each of the videos, PDFs, or additional information from each lesson can be accessed down below and has been designed in such a way that it can easily be accessed from your mobile phone or desktop, so it can be used in the field or with patients should you need to revisit key concepts or material. At the very bottom of your training portal, a downloadable ebook is available. To access this video again, or to get from your dashboard back to your arrival screen, simply click on the world icon, and it'll take you back to your arrival screen where these videos or queries can be lodged. We wish you the best of luck as you go through this, and should you have any questions, please be sure to be in contact with us.
Okay, so what I would also just quickly like to show you is that I have a query button. It takes you straight to my help desk. And all you need to do is pop in your details and submit it through this help desk. It's very important to do this because I do receive a lot of emails and I might miss a query that you have. Whereas if you go through this system, you will get a ticket and you will get a much more prompt response. We are building a database of frequently asked questions and creating little videos to help people as they progress. So don't feel shy. If you have a question and you'd like it to be better explained, then let us know and we will create that for you. If we just click on Start My Training, so when you click on your first lesson, it will take up to 15 seconds to upload. You will get your introduction, which will tell you exactly what you need to do on this slide. And then you would click View Your Introduction Videos. There are 2 introduction videos, and you just click on that icon to take it through to the full screen. At the end of each lesson, you will have your fact sheets, which you can download, which have more information than the information that is provided in your PowerPoint slides. So it's very important to listen to your slides, download your fact sheet, study your fact sheet before taking your lesson. Okay. And your dashboard is very nice as it will display how far you've progressed through the course. right end. There we go. So that's a little quick overview of the course platform.
Right.
I just want to thank you all for your time and welcome Susan. Susan, would you like to pop your video on? Not here. Are you there?
Robyn.
Hi.
Sorry, it's me. I'm sorry. I need to excuse myself.
That's okay.
I need to. So thank you so much. Well, I'll be in touch with you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you all for joining me. I'll end the meeting now, and you all girls have a great weekend.
Thank you.
And you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so